So this talk is hosted by Be Open. It's a creative think tank to encourage innovation, not only in education but as well with young creative thinkers. There's 6 schools. Each of them has 3 projects, and one of them, the one who won, is the Sandberg Institute, and we are very happy that we will have him on stage as well. Jurgen Bij, the director of the Sandberg Institute. Is it correct that you probably, although you are involved, how long in education? Tell yourself. How long have you been involved?
Dit het microfoon voor je.
I started in 1990 as a tutor. But that was in a situation just after graduation. So you're not a tutor, you're more like a student among the students.
Yeah.
So.
How does it feel different now, being dean of a school? Does it really make a difference in educating?
No, I don't think so. For me, being a dean is like it has benefits and non-benefits. And first of all, at the moment, I work, I think, too little with the students. But you are able to make the program, and I think that we are in a very special time where education, I think, gets more and more important. In a sense, it gets a better stage because I think research done by companies will be done less and less because of the economics, and so this research can be done more and more in education.
Yeah. You have only been a dean for a year now in Sandberg Institute in Amsterdam. Already you won this prize. What does it mean for you to win the prize? And can you describe what the prize is? Because I think that's nice as well.
Well, first of all, the prize will be that we are able to make a lecture series, which I think is a very good prize because it doesn't mean that like you get money for education, but you get the opportunity to choose people to speak about the topics that we think are very interesting. I think winning the prize is like, well, the prize has to be given. I'm very happy that the prize is given for education, because I do think that it's very nice to put always like the designer on the stage, but I think it gets more and more important to put the places on the stage that are able to develop. So I do think that to have good entrepreneurship is getting more and more important, where I think that should be staged a lot more than always the independent designers, and the places of education and the topics that they want to develop.
Yeah. We come to speak about the importance of entrepreneurship in schools later on. First I want to introduce the second guest, Mr. Daniel Charney. Yes, please, very nice of you to welcome him. He studied at Bezalel in Israel. Please have a seat. He studied Bezalel in Israel and then later on studied at RCA in London as well, where he taught for a very long time. He's an independent curator and advises a lot of museums, the Design Museum, the Victor and Albert, etc., on design shows. So he's a real design curator, aren't you? Michael, Probleme, die funktioniert das Geräusch von Ihnen funktioniert nicht. Ja.
Ja.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh.
Well, you have to choose a title at some point to get work, so yes.
Yeah.
Curator or...
Yeah. Today we talk about education. How long have you been involved in education?
I'd say about 20 years now, through BA, teaching at a BA, and then...
BA, can you explain what BA?
At the kind of first round of studies.
The bachelor
Bachelor, and it's kind of people that come from schools or are trying to establish if they want to be designers at all, if they can.
Yeah.
And then at I guess the master's level, it's people that have made the decision, and you try and question that for a while, and then get into a certain part of the profession. So it's a very different type of teaching.
Yeah.
I think it's not really teaching, in fact.
Yeah. How long does a teacher in design stays fresh? I want to know from you as well. How long will he really be fresh?
Well, I think every person knows it a bit differently about themselves. You know, you've taught. So you have ways of doing it, never giving the same project twice, or rethinking what is relevant to industry at that point, or not having a kind of... I think that in design teaching is a very different... At the master's level, it's not always kind of a frontal teaching. It's a lot of... It's more like coaching.
Sure.
You kind of work on a project with someone rather than try and solve a problem with them.
Jurgen, do you believe in any fresh date for a tutor, or is it just bullshit?
I think forever.
Forever. He can be even forever fresh.
I think what's important, that's of course is the program. Like it depends like where you put it next to. If you have a team where someone is like involved from the beginning, someone refreshes as a new. So I think it's not about like one person, it's about the program and how you build. And I think it's important to have a knowledge that has been growing slowly and that's always in the institute, so that it also connects like long-term visions. And of course you need refreshments, but that means more like you have popping in people and you have people that are more stable and staying longer.
But if you're bored, that's the best sign.
Yeah, if you feel as a tutor yourself, it's over.
You're bored, or people aren't performing, or well, they're wasting their time. If you start having those thoughts, you have to get out.
Yeah.
I never got like any complaints about the teaching I did. So
that's good. That's good.
But
And you didn't get bored. You didn't get bored yet.
I think there's a situation when you're a young person teaching, or you make a lot of effort. So you fill in, you kind of a fire starter, whereas people that have taught for longer give more space.
Yeah.
And you kind of, it's a different, and so I think students need both these things.
You never had phases of boredom, or phases that you thought, shit, I don't want to go to these lazy students anymore who don't work, who don't...
I always complain about students.
You always complain about it?
No, but I do it like when I'm at home, I complain about it. But then I can only complain about like, you see the potential and you don't always see it. But the students will also complain about you. I think that's good. Yeah. But the general thing for me is that I think it's like an amazing situation, because you have to work with people you not always immediately like. You don't immediately think that the quality is there. It's the opposite of your own studio, where it's close to your own mind and thinking. Yeah. You know the knowledge, and it makes you run a little bit faster. But with education, you have to deal with other kind of thinking, and through time, because you're spending, well, at least 2 years with them, you grow with their thinking, and therefore you grow yourself, but also you are debating about the new reality.
Okay, it's time, I think, to have the senior educator over here, who taught most students, Mr. Ron Arad from London. We are very glad to have you here.
This is the nearest I've been to a morning breakfast TV show with the host with a microphone in the aisles. Yeah, well, what can I do for you?
Yeah, welcome. My brick hero was always Jerry Springer, but then the guests started hitting each other.
Isn't it too loud?
No, you're perfect. Don't worry. We have a Michael over there, and he'll manage. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you ever get bored with students?
No.
No? Why not?
They're not boring.
Mm-hmm. They're not boring? Never?
As you know, like there's boring people, there's boring students, but it's not about that. Yeah. First of all, Daniel and me were lucky because we didn't have the responsibility of teaching anyone anything. What we did is actually the opposite. It was more to do with unteaching.
Mm-hmm. Unteaching.
Unteaching. Mm-hmm. You know, I used to get the rector of the college very worried when I used to declare that we take people that are perfectly employable, and within 2 years we make them unemployable. Wow. Yeah. And don't say that, because the college was very good with statistics. About 88% of graduates work in the industry.
Finds a job.
So we reduced it to 87.
Yeah, but they become good at employing at some point.
Yeah, I've read it in an interview that it was almost a goal to get them unemployable, so they'll be an entrepreneur and start from themselves as well.
I don't know about the word entrepreneur. If someone wants to be an entrepreneur, let them be. If someone wants to do films, let them do films. Mm-hmm. The thing is, with postgraduates, it's about grown-up people that want to delay a little bit the grind of the real world, of earning money, and also what is absolutely, we can discuss things, but most people enjoy the college not because of the teachers, but in spite of the teachers. I mean, the most important thing is peer groups. the fact that they're working next to each other, they talk to each other, they share ideas, they're jealous of each other. They spend, well, I'll talk about the college because I'm not really a teacher.
But in terms of education, what do you prefer to think of yourself if you're not a teacher? Do you tend to organize the place that it gets a researching and artistic?
I'm not an organizer. I mean, we just the thing is, we were lucky. We had the course that had an amazing reputation.
Yeah.
That means it attracted brilliant people from all over the world. And so I think for me, I always said that the most important day of the education is the entrance interviews. That's where you really design the course, not by choosing the tutors, not by doing a program, by choosing the group, because it's a very, very popular course. And you're really spoiled, you know, you have to choose 30 out of 500. If you don't choose the best ones, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You make mistakes as well. Yeah. And my favorite mistake, I'll tell you, I know you want to speak, but...
No, me not, he.
My favorite, what I did when I ran the course, we get a pile of portfolios. Yeah. And I said to all the tutors, go through the portfolios. And if there's anyone you want to interview, just put them on the yes side. I mean, I didn't object. And that made my job easier. Oh, there's an ex-student there.
We come to him later then.
Yeah,
we come to him later.
Yeah. And my job was easy because I only had to look at the rejects. Yeah. I had to look at the ones that no one chose. And one case comes to mind where I understood why this guy, Roland Lamb, his name is, wasn't chosen. But I said, can I see his application? And I can read that he is a graduate of Harvard. I read his professor's recommendation. He said that he was the most rewarding student to teach ever, you know. And not only spoke Chinese, he spoke Cantonese, Mandarin, and Chinese and Japanese, and it sounded not true. Then I Googled him and I saw that this is an amazing student. And it's true, he's not a very good form giver, but I can say, if I have to write about him, the most rewarding student to teach. Yeah. He invented a keyboard that, like in a violin, has a vibrato. It was made of silicon, so you can, you know, I mean, he found in the course a place that could acknowledge what he's good at, acknowledge that he's a genius, which he is, and let him flourish. I mean, he's a very good example. Yeah. I can tell you about other people.
I think we can cut to the chase. The real subject is the environment.
The environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The studio culture.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take that title and you think about, okay, tutors are not important. Yeah. Students, you know, you get different students. But the thing that I think shapes a place or an innovation hub or a new campus or an MIT research is the studio culture. And I think that's right for companies. And this is the thing that I think the staff does create.
Mm-hmm. Plus the city where the school is hosted. Because there's part of the culture is as well the city.
When you say
you talked about London being the magnet for all kind of creative disciplines, and therefore
it's a very posh place of London, without any life. There's no life. I mean, there's some museums, but I always wished that the college was in Camden, in Shoreditch, in Hackney, not in SW7. Yeah. The college enjoyed the reputation and sort of the status. Mm-hmm. And the people, you know, what can I say? It's a fake thing. It's not a fair thing. It's not a democratic thing. Mm-hmm. But it breeds some amazing work for amazing students with amazing careers. just look at two of them over there, the designers of the future, like Tom
The two
Fulcher.
who are touching the
Tom
screens?
Fulcher. Sorry?
The two who were touching the screens?
No,
No, okay.
No. You know, like the people that were selected by.
Okay, sorry, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jürgen, do you agree that it's not so much about the tutors as we thought it was? The tutors don't really matter, they say. If you have a creative environment...
That's
if
not
you have
what I said.
okay.
And plus, when I say studio culture,
Studio culture,
I'm talking about the actual environment and how people interact with each other, not the city and
no, okay.
So it's really
studio
about
culture.
We have a sorry to interrupt your flow here. We have a student here. I won't tell you who it is.
Yeah. No, but you're looking at her, so it's not so complicated.
It's someone in this direction. His project at the college was to do a jacket for shoplifters. You know, a jacket that serves shoplifters, used to go in supermarkets and swap barcodes of expensive wine with cheap wine. Totally subversive, but amazingly creative. And that college, because we didn't know what we should teach. We didn't have an agenda. One of the arguments we two had when we overlapped is that I never used the word should. And you use the word should a lot.
Shoot, as in shoot.
Should.
Oh, shoot.
Must.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They should, as in must.
I don't know what we must do, and I don't know what we should teach.
Yeah.
But I know how we can make things happen.
Yeah. What should I do, Jürgen? What is the shoot?
Well, I don't know. Like
no.
I do think that I preach a lot, so probably I use that word a lot also. Mm-hmm. But I agree with Daniel also that I think it's all about like the circumstances that you make, and also I feel that, and that's where I think that you cannot have like educational places enough. The diversity, the profession has grown immensely. If I think about 89, and when you said that you were a designer, what the field of design was, and if you now look at different schools and what the field of design grew into, that's like enormous, which means that you can have like loads of different schools. And some schools are very open and it's all ruled by the students. Some schools are really ruled by the topics, and others can be ruled by the tutors. And I think the end result is that you attract the people that need certain things. And I think that diversity is so important, because it's the same with athletics. You're not training the same way if you want to jump high or if you want to run fast. Mm-hmm. There is a big diversity, so you need different kind of teachings, different kind of environments. But I do think the environment is the most important part.
Yeah. I think if you look at Italy, sorry, we're going to say something.
No, please go.
I think if you look at Italy, it's so clear that they produced lots of masters, maestri, like Castiglioni, Albini, Magistrati, Bellini, Sozza. You know, I can go make a list of Italian masters. And if I had to make a list of good, prominent Italian designers from now, can you help me? None. Sorry if I forgot someone. And the reason is, these people that I mentioned, the list of masters, didn't study design. There was no such a thing of a design school. I think Italian design stopped producing masters when they started teaching design. Well, the Domus Academy, the Polytechnic, all the design courses, it's a new thing. I mean, people were educated as architects, and they did design.
Okay, next thing I want to know is, what actually do we teach if we teach design? Is it still, can we still consider design as a craft, like 30, 40 years ago, where it was really industrial design, you had to know about stuff?
No, we don't consider design as a craft, but if someone wants to be a craftsman, we consider it a legitimate thing, and we'll help this craftsman develop his craft as much as we can. Sometimes they are better than us at it. And if someone wants to be a fantastic with computers, we'll give him all the support. If someone wants to work unplugged all his life, we can help him do that. Yeah. I don't think we should...
There's no core competence anymore. There's nothing they should do.
There's nothing we should be asking them to do.
Yeah. You agree, Mr. Chani?
With quite a few things, not.
Yeah. Can you tell me, where do you don't agree?
You shouldn't agree, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying. There's a profession and there's an attitude. Yeah. I think every person that goes into education has the right to find their way of communicating. And this is, I think this is the most important thing for the teaching environment to promise to give. To find a way of communicating what they have, their ideas, in a way that they are best suited for or where they want to go. So a lot of it is understanding what people want to do. And a lot of the people now don't want to be designers. They want to be doing other things using design. Yeah. So there are methods and skills in design. There are processes which, when you study a BA, you're told, this, okay, do your research, then do your design. For me, that's absolutely wrong. You start designing from the beginning, and you have to do these things parallel. You have to show people that this option exists. So there are things that the learning environment has to do, and there are things that a learning environment can do. The most important is to show that there are other ways of doing things.
Yeah. Also, to show is important. That's what I like about this prize here, because it wasn't like a lump of money. It was to allow the winning school to bring a keynote lecturer from somewhere else. Yeah. And I remember as a student, I was at the AA, the Architectural Association. It was in London, and it was very central. Every architect that came to London came to the AA and talked and met students. And I approve of that. I approve of exposing people to lots of things. And I approve of having people that are active, fantastic, excelling in their profession, talking about what they're doing, showing and giving students courage to try things, to do things. This is without saying you should be like that. Or So that's why the prize that.
Yeah, for the clarity, they were on the jury. And he won the prize. No, he didn't won the prize, but his student won the prize. And it's about the black box there. There's 6 schools with 3 entries, 3 projects. They were on the jury. Sorry to interrupt you.
But Lucas, you know, you give briefs to students, right?
Yes.
So we know that giving the brief is a really important point in, you know, that's where you get going. You kind of say, this is worth thinking about. Let's go there. Let's try and find something. But actually, I think the most important point is that first tutorial. After the person has had time to think about it, the first tutorial, when they come with their ideas, that first situation where they could go in different directions, that's where ambitions are set. And I've seen both of them raise the ambitions of people in such a way that people didn't expect. No, they come in, I'd like to do this, and then Ron or Jürgen will go, but have you thought about, woof. And that moment, I think, is one of those magical moments in teaching. And in order to get to that first tutorial, students have to do work. They have to want to do something. They have to have an idea that can be challenged. And the problem with a lot of teaching is that people or a lot of courses are already, they know what result they want. You know, they're reenacting, especially when teaching a skill, you're reenacting a preconceived idea. And this is the biggest problem.
Yeah, clear.
In an art school, in the same college, the fine art department, it would be laughable to give students briefs. You don't say, today the brief is landscape or whatever. They are grown-up people, and by that time they should know what they want to do, and we should be there to help. Yeah. And the brief is just a stepping stone to something, so we can have a discussion going. But we had one platform that in the first year, when every platform presented itself, and the briefs, they said, this year will have no briefs. And it attracted lots of students. And I thought it was a very, very good idea.
This mentality of we coach them in what they want to do. We don't tell them what to do. We don't give them a brief. That I can perfectly imagine in a master's degree. You're dean of a master's degree as well. But would it work on a bachelor? No, the question is different. Do you think that in the bachelor degree we can define what design is? Is there something as the craft in design that people should learn? Should people be able to know a lot about colors, about materials, about wood and metal, about ways of producing, about etc.? Or is that all thinking about design education?
What is a bachelor degree for?
To teach somebody to be a designer, to start in his to be a designer. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, it's a bit different. It's more with this idea of meeting a possibility of finding a way of working through a lot of. I think design is a very good bachelor place to learn for, not necessarily being a designer, because you learn a way of expressing your thoughts, conceptualizing ideas. You find tools, and it's very important to learn some skills on a BA.
Yeah. Jürgen, I never met you so quiet in a discussion. What is the core competence of a designer? Or what should, no, not what should, the word should, not going to use the word should, but is there a craft in design? Is there something as a craft, or is it just mentality?
No, I don't, no, as I said before, I think that diversity has grown, so you have designers that are really like material based, so they start with the materials and they work on them, and from that you get products. But you have others that do all concepts, and from the concepts we get then slowly products. I think like when I got educated, this whole conceptual thinking really grew, in which we almost forgot that you could also start with the material, which you see now a lot more. And in general, you see now that like I think in the 90s, you had these self-producing designers, and they all made their own tools, but in generally they made like tables, chairs, and cabinets, and then so they came more from like this craftsmanship. And now you see all these, or really a lot of them, thinking in processing and more in industries, and they make themselves like small industrial objects that are more processing the object, which I think comes completely from the computer. By working with the computer, thinking in the process, a mediator, they're now starting to develop a lot of machines, which I think is interesting, because it means that more and more designers are going towards industrial design again. But then in the small scale that can go back into the city, that you see the maker being part of the one that also sells. So they will develop like a new field of design.
Mm-hmm. 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 If you want to be involved in this discussion, just raise your hand. I'll come to you with this mic, and you can ask any question you want, as long as it's somehow relevant to design or education. If you don't ask questions, I will go on. It's the only thing I can do, ask questions. Most design schools are now into art academies, or art schools with a design on top, or it's in the history somehow there's art. But slowly, because of design thinking, social design and open design, that's not the case anymore. There's more and more design being taught in engineering schools, in management schools, in process schools. I don't know where, but there's a lot of schools where there's design being taught which are not art academies. Do you believe that you can teach a designer in such an environment? Is it possible, or what do they do there?
Depends what sort of designers they want to be. I think there's fantastic to teach design in engineering school, or if that is the type of designer you want to become. I mean, if you want to design guns and weapons, you don't need to go to an art school, and you can be very good at what you're doing, and you know. But it depends what you want to train yourself to be, and it is. We're talking even on a BA course. You're still talking about grown-ups that lived enough and saw enough. It's not the first time that they hit design and what it takes to be a designer. With me, it always had to do with drawings. I can see a very fantastic designer that doesn't draw, that works with maybe with his computer, maybe with his. I mean, me personally, I rely on the pencil. That's me, but other people rely on other things.
Mr. Charney, is there any concern about this boom of design schools? Because we're talking about a booming business, design education. The amount of master degrees grows enormously in Western Europe. The amount of bachelor degrees or bachelor educational structures grows enormously in India and in China. So this is a booming business we're talking, design education. Is there any worry that at one time anything can be called design education? Yeah, it has to be closer to you, Ron. Yeah.
Absolutely not. You know, how many songs are written till we get good songs? The more they're written, the more better songs we get. So yeah.
You too?
Yes, I do think that you can't have enough, but I do think it also means that like how you focus, because I do think it becomes like very fashionable, but also they all get the same examples, which I think is changing already, but you really had like this focus on the independent designer making like independent design, and it took a lot of focus and less focus on industrial design, which meant that they were all, that was the highest thing you could achieve. And I think then you get these schools in engineering that see that kind of designers and they teach their students similar things, which I think is not so interesting. It's so interesting if through engineering you start thinking what design could mean for that. And I think to broaden that makes it really good. But if we have like one example that we say this is the best way, then I think the danger is that it looks all very similar. And I think it is this so-called like democracy of everything. We always say that it's good because it makes a big diversity. But in name giving, when everyone was giving the name of their parents to their children, there was a bigger diversity of names. But yes, it was ruled in a certain way. And I think the same can happen with this. If it becomes fashionable, we will all follow the magazines that show certain things as the best, so-called best design.
Yeah.
I think there's I think there's a problem with the idea of this, the construct of a school. You're saying, are more design schools good? As long as the type of school evolves as well. Because I think a lot of places are stuck in the way I mean, every time we use something like school or chair, we're already stuck with the idea of what it is. And it's to do with what it's for. And I think learning design or design education should be liberated from buildings that do it. You know, there's other ways of learning now that are available. And the physical aspect is very important for one aspect of the culture, for one of people learning from each other. But all this idea of learning from the best or what people have done doesn't necessarily have to happen in a place. And where technology allows us to teach differently now as well.
But there is a value in doing a vocational school. Or, I mean, like there's a school in England, the John Makepeace School, and they specialize in polishing wood. And
no, they specialize in an education you can't talk about. It's an education you have to see and touch.
Yeah, but you know, if that could be attractive to a young person to go there and to train themselves to become a wood sender or dovetailer or whatever, it's fair enough. You know, it's like
but now there's schools about service design, open design, and design thinking. And these people train you to be a sort of a creative manager.
Good on them.
Yeah?
If they do it well.
Let's do it. Okay. Yeah.
But what about, you remember interactive design or sustainability? There are courses dedicated to it. Was that a good idea? I think it was very good. You have to hothouse subjects in order to bring them back in, so that there is now sustainability is something that should be and is in every aspect in every school. It's not a special subject anymore, shouldn't be.
But there's one difference, that these courses you mentioned were gotten into the kind of schools we all taught to, the sort of art school-based schools. The courses like design thinking are not being taught in these art schools, as far as I know. Is that a good thing, or should we? I'm not prejudiced against it. Should you get a course design thinking at your school, or service design thinking with a lot of management and a lot of process? Why don't you do that? Let's make it a question. Why don't you do that?
I think that the reason of not doing it is like you try to develop a program with the amount of people you can handle. So I think, yes, you can make it as broad as you want, but then like you get a soup. It's so much that you have no focus. And I would rather develop a program from different fields, but there is like a red line in between. Because I still think that the interaction between the people in the school are very important. So you have to have like, we have classes no bigger than 20, because I think that's the highest, the most you can get, because then it becomes like a class and not a group. And I think that's more important.
What?
What?
I think you can be opportunistic as well, and if there's a great guy in town that is very good in educating people to design management and is available on Wednesdays, we'll bring him in. And if he can attract enough interest, enough people will join his Wednesday afternoon classes, it can't be bad. And you are, when you run a course, you are a little opportunistic. You see who's available and you see what, that would be a good idea. He's in town, let's call him. Even though he comes from a different side of the spectrum, the other side of the spectrum from what I do or what I am interested in.
But when you're designing a course or running a course, there's a whole issue of what levels of risk you want to take, what levels of leadership you want to achieve. And the course that opens up to influences that are not the conventional influences is taking a risk and is more likely to discover new ways of working or thinking or new targets, new joint. We're seeing a lot of students that want to work together now. Yeah. Collaboration is the, co-working, co-creating, collaborating. It took a long time to get people to get there. Now it's a problem because you don't have people going off on a tangent on their own. They want approval, they want to do it together, they want the social. So we've we've paid a price for encouraging group work, which is essential for professional design. Yeah. But this whole idea that, say, 15 years ago, you had people that just went off on and you didn't understand what they were doing, but they were stuck on it. It was more of the culture of that kind of, I'm going to surprise everyone with my idea. Now there's a lot more, and it's much healthier, yeah. But it's a problem. So you have to bring in the right people or the right subjects. Anthropology, philosophy should be part of a design education, but you have to also understand if you're trying to introduce new designers or you're trying to get people involved on government, local government, social enterprise. Yeah. What is the subject, or what is, I guess, the biggest ambition of each school? Mm-hmm. And this is what was interesting in judging here, because you see schools with different agendas and different ways of getting there. Yeah.
I think we had it a lot from the Dutch. I mean, as interviewing new students every year for the college, I mean, you can tell where they're from. You can tell where they come from.
Well, it's written in the form.
Oh, you can read. But it was so obvious after the drug design. You can see like a post-drug Dutch portfolio. Some of it with wit and charm, but you are bothered by the willingness to join a trend so happily. But it's not, it's not just a Dutch thing. I mean, there was a very special flavor to people that came from Valencia. I mean, they all had a similar graphic that fooled us. We thought, what a fantastic portfolio. And then we realized this is what they do. They put a lot of emphasis on presentation and font selection. And but it took us time to go, to see through that. Yeah, I mean, there are some good energy coming from successful trends for a while, but I think it does more damage than good.
No, it's wonderful. You already said that this real important moment is choosing the students, going through these portfolios. But you must know, in the Netherlands, there's a lot of master degrees where there's nothing to be chosen, because there's a lack that people want 20 students and only 7 come. I don't know if can you handle more students than you currently have? Can you pick them out still at Sandberg?
How do you mean? Like?
Is there an undersubscription of the amount of places, or is there?
No, there's more.
There's more. You can pick.
More yeah, for sure. Yes.
To what? To what? One to how many can you pick out? It's getting a bit of technical now, but don't worry.
I think 1 of 10.
1 of 10.
Yeah.
That's great. And at RCA, generally?
Something like that.
Same thing. Okay.
Oh.
Suppose that you would be dean of a school where it's not it's one-to-one. You have to pick everybody because otherwise it goes down. What would you do?
Open the door.
For who?
Anyone.
Yeah. And then you get a completely different atmosphere, huh?
Yeah, but it's like you know.
Students who are being rejected now will all go to you.
Great. That's how many do you have? 70. So that's 630.
Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. But do you think you would have to change a lot in your ideas about education if you couldn't pick them out? Because that's often the fact, not for you, but it's often the fact.
Look, we're avoiding the big question: is what what's the school for? That's the question, not that's what you have to ask, and that's what you have to design the school to do with whoever you have. Yeah. If you were starting a school with 630 people in Cape Town, it would be very different from 630 students in London, and you'd have different opportunities, amazing things that you could do in either. But so the question is a bit kind of abstract for me.
There is a system. I was in Argentina like 2 weeks ago in a conference in a city called Cordoba. The Faculty of Architecture has 10,000 students. 10,000 students, can you imagine? I can't, but it's... And I started asking, what do you do with so many architects? So, don't worry, only 20% of them survive the course. So there's another system of survival of the fittest and the natural selection, which is fair enough, democratic.
Yeah. Last question. What have you learned in school yourself? What changed your life? What really changed your life, and where you are very glad of that it did change your life in that way? So, what is the most valuable thing you learn in school?
Well, it's my life. So it's like my whole development comes from the school. So if I have to pick like one bit of that, I think it's very hard. But I do think what I said before, like what I like about the school being the opposite of my studio is that that's private and public. In private space, in the home, only people enter your home you like, which means you already know what they will do, how they will behave and everything. In public space, you have to deal with people you don't know, and some you even won't like, but you have to deal with it. And over time, you start to see the qualities of it. And that's exactly what I like on education, that I have to deal with people. Some of them, I really, really don't like them. But after 3 months, then you see what it's worth, that when you are like shouting and like doing really the opposite that I would normally like, but you see what it brings. And that's exactly what I think in education, that you develop a team with whom you think you can develop. And that's, for me, the same when you raise this question, like what happens if you have 10 places and only 10 students or even 7 students? I think it's still an opportunity that you have, that you're allowed to have 10 educational spaces. And you really have to reinvent how you develop them, because yes, definitely you will develop them. And I think also with this 10,000 architects, which I know that also in Chile they have so much designers but so little industry, but then you know a lot of them, they will not become designers, but they will start hotels, they will start shops, they will become bankers, and they have like a different way of dealing with things. They are having a different language, and I'm still waiting for the first artist to become a banker, because I do think that it will change the way it's being dealt with. And the diversity is only for the good, so I'm not troubled with that.
Mr. Arad, same question. What did you get in education? What was really valuable for your life? The answer can be nothing, but I don't...
The thing is that I thought that I'm doing something. I mean, I didn't plan to teach. I was talked into it. And I worked in the beginning with Daniel. We designed the course together. We took 2 courses, like the industrial design and furniture. And it gives you real pleasure to to take a course of 150 years that was called furniture, not even furniture design at the college, and to abolish it, that gives you a great satisfaction. And so we felt that we are doing something that, you know, and I was really upset when I visited the course before, the furniture course, and I was taken around by the then professor, we won't name names, and he said to me, of course, you don't expect the same intellectual capacity from furniture students as you would from architectural students. I had to walk away, you know, it's like, what kind of statement it is. So what did I learn? That yes, you can enjoy creating something new, and it's exciting, and the place was sort of felt good. It was buzzing, and after that it was time to move on, to leave. You should never let, if you're a creator, education take over. And if you, it's a real danger, so that you learn to protect yourself.
Thank you. Mr. Chani?
I'm going to try and answer your question as exactly as I can. There was a moment in my third year in my bachelor's studies. I was sitting in front of my sketchbook. I was working on crutches, for a new idea for crutches for children. It was a subject that interested me. I was into medical design of medical well-being objects, not engineering, but. And I was sitting in front of the sketchbooks, and I had so many ideas, and I didn't know how to choose. And I sat with a tutor called Hanan De Lange, and he said, so which one are you going to go for? And I said, well, what's the tutorial for? We're going to choose, you know. And he was like, okay, that one. And I was like, why? He was like, that wasn't the deal. And I got into that one, and it was, I think my best project on the BA was a crutch for children, because usually all the crutches are like this. I took the 3 points and found a radius, so you can then fold them up and travel with them. And so a very simple idea, but there were many others. I didn't see that one was particularly good. Now, I don't know if he saw that one was the best, or he just went for it, like, get on with it. So that is probably one of the points where I learned a lot about the fact that you have to get on, and this fear of decisions that follows designers, people that study design. This is the thing that, for instance, in management, you learn a lot of ways of taking decisions. You know, you have methods, you assess risk, so if we can learn to take decisions through design management, great. If we can learn to take decisions through philosophy and art, ethnography, it's all about that.
Thanks, gentlemen, for being here. Mr. Bij, Mr. Arad, Mr. Chani. Thanks, Be Open, for hosting it. Thanks, Marianne Goebel and Design Miami Basel for hosting it. Thank you all for listening to this. This was it. Thank you.